When applying for jobs as a nursing student, it is important to highlight the right information on your resume. Make sure you showcase your strengths and skills in a professional way. Your resume and cover letter are your first impression on a potential employer. Some employers will use a computer program to scan your resume, while others take a few seconds to visually look over it. That is why it is so important that you pay attention to the formatting of your resume. You want it to look professional and quickly draw the employer's attention to the right information. You also want to pay attention to include keywords in your resume that employers may be looking for. Usually you can get these out of the job posting. Essential sections. If you are applying for a nursing position, either as a new graduate nurse or as a student looking for part-time work as an unregulated assistive personnel, you will want to include at minimum the following sections. 1. Your contact information. 2. Education. And 3. Relevant experience. Depending on the kind of experience you have, you may want to call this section relevant nursing experience or relevant clinical experience. If you are listing placements as experience, you should include concise descriptions of the experiences you had while at that placement. If you simply say orthopedics, how do you expect an employer to know what you actually learned there? The content of your resume should be in point form. Remember, the employer only wants to spend a few seconds looking at it before they are hooked. Wordy resumes are likely to get tossed in the trash before they are even read. When you list your content, start with a verb. If you aren't sure what to use, do a quick search for resume verbs for some ideas. Before doing that, though, try to use some nurse-sounding verbs. Encouraged, empowered, promoted, collaborated, implemented, developed. Oh, there are so many. When you are picking verbs, try not to use the same one over and over. Mix it up a little, but don't get too crazy and use ones that no one has ever heard of. After you use a verb, list what you did and strengthen it by making it clear why the employer should care. Say why it was important or what you gained from the experience. Highlight your experience. There are two general ways to present your experience. The first way is the more traditional listing of experiences. If you have very relevant placements or a lot of placements to list, the traditional way of listing the placement, then itemizing the experiences underneath works well. If you have too many placements, you may only want to describe your experience at the most relevant to and then list the rest. The second way is to flip it by using the type of experience as the heading, then describe it and have a separate list for the placements on page 2. That way it doesn't show off if some of your experience is dated or if a lot comes from the same place. If you do not have a lot of experience, you may find that this presentation makes you look more qualified. If you have other work experience, you can include a section called Additional Experience. If you do not have previous experience, just omit this section. You do not need to list all your experience. The leadership camp you attended when you were 6 probably isn't relevant. Select the most recent and relevant experiences you have to highlight on the resume. What makes you stand out as a competent professional? The subject headings you choose should immediately jump out at the reader, so choose them wisely. I will give you some tips in a bit. Whenever I apply for a new position, I shift the sections that I think will be most interesting to the first page. I also like to add an objective statement to make the resume tailored to the employer. Take a look at these 2 resumes I submitted at about the same time to 2 different employers. You will notice that the one that is for a clinical position has nursing experience listed first. The entire first page is designed to make me look like an experienced clinical nurse. The one that is for a teaching position has teaching experience listed first. In this resume, the entire first page is designed to make me look like an experienced and qualified educator. I did that on purpose. Also, for this resume, I had access to the strategic plan of the organization, so I incorporated keywords from their goals and objectives into my objective statement. If you do a little homework and incorporate the keywords like this, it will make you look like the perfect fit for the position. Additional headings. When I was a student, I chose to include a list of professional activities on my resume. Now, if I had only been to one conference, I would not have made a separate section for professional activities, but since I had done a few extracurricular professional development activities, having a separate section for them looked good. Likewise, I listed professional memberships on my resume. I was a member of the RNAO, but instead of just listing the RNAO, I also listed the interest groups that I was involved in. Having 4 legitimate lines on my resume made it look better in my opinion. Many people like to have a skills section where you list additional skills. Again, you want to keep this list relevant. If you have computer skills, that is normally a good thing to list. Any other certificates like CPR can also be included. Another good section to include is volunteer activities. Again, only include it if you have some things to list. References do not need to be listed on your resume. They can be in a separate document. That way, the employer needs to ask you for them. Often, employers will ask before they even look at the resume, so I usually include them at the end on a 3rd page anyway, but it all depends on the job I am applying for. I also like to put a description of what the reference's role was, so they know how the reference is in a position to comment on my skills and abilities. You may want to start out with a resume template, but make sure it is easy to use. You will want to be able to easily edit it later. Some templates can be difficult to edit. I find them frustrating to work with. It might just be better to create your own. Just make sure it is clean, organized, and professional looking. I like to keep a file on my computer called Active Resume. That way, whenever I need to apply for a job, I just update my resume. I like to keep copies of my old resumes too, so before I get started, I save the old one. I also update my CV whenever I have anything to add, which helps me update my resume whenever I need to. Your resume only needs to be about 1 page, since most nursing student resumes are about that long. However, if you have more to say about yourself, then include more information on a 2nd page. I would not go much farther than 2 pages, because most employers only look at the 1st page anyway. Choose what you put on the 1st page carefully. Take into consideration the formatting and spacing of your document. I like to make sure that whatever sections are on the same page are equally spaced. I also try to avoid having sections break across 2 pages. If you are handing a hard copy of your resume in, or mailing in your resume, make sure you print it on quality paper. Don't use fancy colors. A nice neutral color is best. Yes, scented pink paper will make you stand out, but not in the right way. Thank you for watching. I hope you found these resume tips helpful. Please let me know if you need anything else. Don't forget to share this video and subscribe to be notified when new videos are released. Thank you.